Hi, my name is Tara Carline, Special Police Officer and Victim Advocate for Mashpee Police Department. And on behalf of Mashpee Police Department's Community Services Unit, and Mary Wilson is here from Mashpee's Coordinated Family and Community Engagement for Mashpee Schools, would like to introduce Assistant District Attorney Eileen Moriarty. She's here today to talk about cyber safety for parents and guardians. Eileen?
Hi, good evening. My name is Eileen Moriarty, and I'm the Assistant District Attorney in charge of the Juvenile Court. I work for your District Attorney, Michael O'Keefe. And what we were seeing over the past few years with the advent of digital technology is more kids getting in trouble for things that they previously never would get in trouble for. You know, how many people, how many families have children who have cell phones, laptops, gaming systems, tablets, things like that? We go to the schools, and we've been to most all the schools on the Cape and both islands, and asked, and I think it's something like in the middle school, like 97% of the kids, everybody has one of these devices, and everybody has the opportunity to get on the internet. And that causes problems because we now have kids who have this power in their hands 24 hours a day, and it's often unsupervised. And so we've found that kids are getting in trouble. So we go out and we talk to the kids. We also talk to the parents about what's going on. And some of the important thing that we tell parents is, you bought that device. You bought that, you signed that contract. It's yours. You get to make the rules. We've had parents say, well, what am I supposed to do? They won't give it to me. Well, it's yours. Shut it off. You know, you get to do those things. And it's some of these, as we tell the kids, some of these common sense things that what we tell them is the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated, still applies face-to-face and online. And if they follow that rule, they're going to be just fine. It's when they diverge from that we have problems. Things for parents to watch for. Friends and followers that you don't know personally and high numbers of followers. There are tons of social media applications, and there's a new one, it seems, every week. But the rules, again, are the same. Who are they communicating with? Do you know those people? And do you know them personally? What we tell the kids is that they should only communicate with people online that they already know. The internet is not a place for kids to make friends, and we want them to only use it for the good purposes. We want to make sure they're not revealing too much personal information through screen names. What we do with the kids is, you know, there's a screen name, Kate, MA13. I say to them, how old is that person? 13. What's her name? Kate. Where is she from? Massachusetts. And then we explain to them how that gives enough information for someone to start a conversation. And the other person is not necessarily another 13 or 14-year-old, or even somebody with the screen name of Kate, MA13, could be a 13-year-old from Massachusetts, but quite frankly, it could be a 47-year-old man from Ohio. And that happens. We can't believe people who they are online if we haven't met them. Same thing goes for photos online. When somebody says, well, their profile picture or their, you know, whatever the app calls it, says that they're, you know, shows a 13-year-old girl. But that doesn't mean that that's true. People can put anything up. We also talk to them about not posting specific activities, locations, vacation plans, because when you put that stuff on the internet and you're communicating with people that you don't know, who we explain to them, you know, you can call them friends, you can call them followers, you can call them whatever, but when they're people that you don't know, they're strangers. When you put that information out there and you're communicating with strangers, your kids are telling people where they are. We ask them things like, would you go up to somebody at Mashpee Commons and say, hey, my name's Kate, I'm 13, I live in Mashpee, I play soccer, my parents go out every Saturday night, this is my address, and my sister and I are usually home till midnight baking cookies. Would you tell them that? No. Well, do you realize that when you put all that information out through these social media applications, that you, in fact, are telling strangers that information? Similarly, publicizing personal emotions and, you know, TMI, too much information, putting it all out on the internet, because once it's out there, you can't get it back. How a child feels about something today may not be how they feel tomorrow, or what they do today is not what they want to be judged by tomorrow. Kids live in the moment, but what they don't realize is they're allowing every single moment to be recorded, and can later come up to haunt them. You want to make sure that their passwords aren't being shared with friends, that we don't have kids using other kids' social media accounts. But what we do tell them is that they should share them with you. Because if it is your child, you should have access to their devices and to what they're doing. You should also be sure to know what they're actually doing on those, and how many accounts do they have. things like that. Again, it's your phone. You paid for it. Kids don't have the money for a $600 phone. Us as parents are the ones who are providing it, and we also bear the responsibility of controlling it. We explain to the kids anonymity. Any app that says anonymous in it, we tell them very simply, replace that word anonymous with bad, because if it's anonymous, it's bad. Why? Because people aren't held accountable when nobody knows it's them saying these things. And that the research has shown that people are much more bold and nasty and say things that they don't want to be accountable for when they know that no one's going to know it's them. We also talk, and I think it's important for parents to look out for applications that require a GPS, a global positioning device, that say, if it's a photo or something that give your actual physical location. Because again, if they're communicating with people they don't know, they're telling them exactly where they are. Also in regards to images, when they're taking images, if they've taken them with the GPS enabled in their phone, the code in the back of if someone was to download the picture and know what they were doing, they can find sometimes the latitude and longitude of where the photo was taken. It's a lot of information to be putting out there for strangers. Again, we don't want to scare them, nor do we want to scare you guys, but what I want people to understand is the power that these applications have and how exposed our children are. And the most important thing is that nobody should ever be meeting somebody that they've met online in person. We also explain to somebody says to us, well, what if I bring my friend? Well, great, now we have two of you in trouble. These, kids are targeted online. It happens here on the Cape, we know that, and it can have very serious consequences. So those are the things to watch for and talk to your children about that we see as some of the most important ones. And, the applications are changing every day. Facebook, Twitter, Kik, Askfm, Skype, Omegle, Whisper, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp. Somebody today was talking to me about a new app called House Party where everybody can FaceTime together and nothing's recorded because it's all live video. They're all out there. When we've learned from experts and people who really know what they're doing in this field, they say go to the App Store. If your child wants a new app and see the reviews. If there aren't any reviews, it's because it's brand new. And if there are, read what they say. A while back, there was a calculator app that was a vault for inappropriate pictures. If you hit the right code, then you would be able to see the photos. Otherwise, you just thought it was a calculator. Make sure that your children have to ask for permission, and you have to be the one to download those apps. You have to control these devices and have to talk to them about it. And just pretending that, oh, it's just a phone, there won't be any problems is how the kids end up in trouble. We tell them this, we ask them, what's the most dangerous four-letter word in the digital environment? We get all sorts of hands, and they, we always hear hate, kill. We tell them it's not a swear word. We get a variety of different words, and what it is sent. Because once you send it, you can't get it back. Once it goes out into the internet, be it a tweet, an email, a Snapchat, anything. Once it's out there, they can't get it back. They've lost control of it, and they have no idea who's going to end up with it and what they're going to do with it. So the real basic concept that we say to the kids is do not type, send, photograph, be in a photograph of anything that you wouldn't be okay with hung on a banner over Mashpee Commons on 4th of July weekend. Because less people are going to see that than could see your image or your text when you send it out into the internet. And also that, they have to be accountable. They're going to be judged by what they do. Once you post it, you lose control, and that can be a problem. Images and messages can be altered and spread without your knowledge and consent, and nothing is ever truly deleted. And we also talk to the kids, because we do this throughout the school year, in regards to, what have you seen on the news lately? I mean, this past week, Harvard rescinded acceptances for 10 kids who were going to go to Harvard because of what they were posting in through a social media app in a group, and it was inappropriate. And in reading further into the article, it talks about the fact that Harvard said to them, you participated, tell us what you thought when you were doing those things, tell us what it means to that, and that there are consequences. It's not just funny. And they may have to speak up and explain themselves, and do they want to explain it? And if they don't, then there's something wrong with that. Same thing with kids wanting to get jobs, colleges, employers, scholarships, sports programs, family and friends. Talk to your kids when the stories come up on the news. Look what that kid did. That tweet was out for 15 seconds, and he lost a scholarship. Those kids did this, and this is what happened. What do you think about that? Could that happen to you? The Kaplan study, the most recent one done in regards to this, was 2012, and that the schools use Facebook and Instagram and all these, social media things to market their schools, but they also use them to look at our kids and see what are we really getting, because as we know, it's competitive. College is expensive and it's hard to get into. And they want the best of the best, and they want to be sure that that child who's got a beautiful resume on paper is actually who they're getting. We tell them that they're creating a digital footprint. Now that's something that none of us ever had when we were growing up. And it really is who are they online? Is that a good representation of them? And what are they involved with? What are they touching online? When you look at a child or a person's profile, and you see that they like all these things that you find inappropriate, do you have the same thoughts about that person, or do you think that that's who they are? We encourage the kids to make sure that the person they really are in life matches the person that they portray themselves as online, and which one is more important. What we also talk to them about is why the district attorney's office is here to talk to them about it, because back 2008, 2009, we saw some of the first cases of this type of inappropriate digital behavior, and what this means. So kids are now getting in trouble for things that never were crimes that kids got in trouble for. Annoying phone calls. We tell the kids, annoying phone calls, you couldn't get in trouble for that when I was growing up, because there was one phone in the house. If I wanted to use it, I had to practice how to properly ask on the phone to speak to my friend. Her mother may tell me no, and there were rules. You never called past 8 o'clock. You didn't call at dinner time. So there's one phone. You're using it, nobody else can. So no one's going to be prank calling and hanging up and all the rest of stuff. But our kids have these phones with them 24 hours a day, so they have hours of time. And you might be sitting in the same room as them, looking right at them while they're texting and saying those things. So annoying telephone calls also includes text messages. So repeatedly texting somebody for no legitimate purpose or calling, in fact, could be a violation of that. Stalking and criminal harassment. Those are crimes that really were, stalking was adults and criminal harassment is new. Those are crimes that kids are now getting in trouble for repetitive behavior that's seriously alarming to other people, that in regards to stalking includes a threat, and it can be digital. So it could be posting on, sending a Snapchat, making a tweet, doing this, and then something in person. That kids are getting in trouble for those serious crimes. Unauthorized access to a computer system and use of personal identification of another. We talk to them about things like, has anybody seen that somebody has gotten in trouble for hacking into somebody else's email account and sharing the information? Yes, those things get you in trouble. Threat to commit a crime. It's much easier for us to prove a threat to commit a crime when you've typed it and sent it to somebody, and the person who you were threatening is able to bring it to the police department. Are there still challenges in those cases? Yes, of course. But when they're writing it down, they write it, they send it, and they think nothing of it. The person who receives it is holding on to it, and when they're texting, when they're upset, they're on the internet all the time, they're never having a break to process things, they're getting in trouble for these type of things. Violation of restraining orders, civil rights violation. People are just saying and doing things without ever thinking about it, and then there's a permanent digital record. The last two, possession of child pornography and dissemination of child pornography, that's what the media has very cutely named sexting. I explained to the kids that it's not sexting. It is, in fact, the possession of child pornography and the dissemination of child pornography, and that they cannot be photographing themselves and others in states of undress, sharing those are all crimes, and they're serious life felonies. At the district attorney's office, we have created a diversion program for some of these things, because often the problem with those cases is that the person who has taken the photo, somebody may consider the victim, but when they send that photo, they in fact are now in trouble. They could be in trouble themselves, and anybody who receives that photo has exposure as well. So it's not a cut and dry of so-and-so did this to my child. It's the children participating, young adults participating in this and causing problems for themselves. And that's why we go out with the high school, 6th, 7th, 8th graders. We really explain to them, like, what does this mean, and what effect will it have on you if you are involved in that later? If you're the person who's in the photo, or if you're the person who took that photo or possessed it, that these are very serious crimes, and that there's a reason. These laws weren't made for our teenagers to be in trouble. They were made for the people who used to, and people who do seek out and create and store true child pornography. But they are applicable to our kids. And it's important for people to understand, and we try and educate the kids best we can on the fact that this is dangerous and can have life-altering consequences. And those are the things. I mean, we don't want kids to be in trouble. We want all the kids to grow up to be happy, healthy adults, enjoy adolescence, and really have nothing to do with the district attorney's office. But we know that kids make mistakes, so we try our best when they do to help educate them and divert them, literally, from the criminal system through the help of the police department and other agencies to get their behavior straightened away. Technology is not to blame. The behavior is not new. It's just how it's spread that's new. The fact that they have the phones, the fact that they can take the pictures, that they can now connect to people all across the world. We talked to the kids about the fact that previously, you left the house, your parents said, don't talk to strangers. And you go to the park, don't talk to strangers. Well, the problem is we've now invited the strangers into our homes through these devices, and the kids need to understand that. It's just much more dangerous these days with the amount and the volume of things that the kids are sending out, because kids nowadays have had these devices and didn't know a world really before them and don't necessarily understand how serious this could be. And the fact that they could result in criminal charges is very concerning, and it's something that we feel important to share. Parents ask us, what can you do? You need to empower your child to feel in control, independent, and unafraid. You need to talk to them to clean up social media accounts. Probably, most of the kids have things that after we talk to them, they go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have that. Go ahead and do that. You can't fix what happened yesterday. You can only fix going forward how you do things. Update the privacy and GPS settings to be appropriate for what you want. Shutting off the GPS on applications that you don't feel it's necessary, and updating the privacy restrictions. And the other thing that we do talk to the kids about is the fact that the privacy settings, kind of in a way, are a gimmick. Facebook, Instagram, all these things, why are they free? Well, they're free because they're taking our information and they're using it. They're using it for sales and for marketing and things like that, and targeting all of us. That's why they're free, so we're not really the client. So those privacy settings are set up to make you feel comfortable, but they can't protect you completely. You have to protect you. You have to only put on what you are okay with sharing, things like that, and explaining the difference, because all the time we have kids say, well, it's private, nobody can find it. Really? Are you sure? Those are the things that we want you to think about. Make sure that the phone is locked and password protected so other people can't get in it. And make an agreement to get approval before downloading new apps from you, so that you know what's on the phone and what it's there. Be involved in your child's digital life. See what the rest of the world is seeing. And what does that make you think about it? And discuss the rules and what they should share. Go online together and look at what their friends are posting and have conversations about it. Ignoring this problem will only cause more problems. And lead by example. If you don't want your child to be on his phone, his or her phone or tablet or everything all the time, then you can't be. You have to have digital-free zones in your home. That at dinner, nobody, there's no place in the, Emily Post's book of how you set a table. There's no place for your cell phone in regards to that. And there shouldn't be at the dinner table. Perhaps if you're going on a family car ride, then you make sure that you're not using your phone either, because I think the trap we all fall into is we're busy on our phones, so it's easy to give them something to entertain them too. And when you begin to realize what that creates, it's not good. Monitor. We also think it's a good idea to monitor monitoring software. Have them, install them. I know that you'll hear a little bit about that later in the night, that there are applications out there to help you with this, so that you know what your child is up to and you get some updates about that. And most effectively, talk about it. Open and honest conversation, preemptively, before you have problems. People say to us, oh, my we never have any problems. Have you looked? Do you know what they're doing? Kids make mistakes, and you want them to be able to realize when they've made a mistake and ask you for help to fix it. There's no shame in making mistakes. It's the fact when the mistakes are repeated and repeated and nobody tries to right them, that's when the kids really get in trouble, and we as families end up in trouble, because it's, how did this child end up in all this trouble? We take our information from a whole bunch of resources, and we're updating it all the time for families who want to get further into this. These are some of the websites that we think are helpful. And we've also gathered information from other district attorneys' offices and research and things like that. So that's the information that we try to get out to the kids and to parents as well, so that everybody has a little bit better handle on the situation. Okay.
Thank you, Eileen. I'd like to now introduce Chris Santos, who is a member of our school committee, as well as the information technology specialist. You can tell a little bit more about exactly what that means.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much. Well, like I've said, I'm Chris Santos. I've worked in information technology for probably at least 15 years, and I also have 3 children, so I'm very familiar with a lot of this. One of them is an older teenage girl as well. So what I do want to talk about ties into a lot what was just said, so it was a great segue. It was fantastic to hear all that good information. I'm going to get into a little more detail as to what these apps are, what the dangers are, what is actually going on. And surprisingly enough, over the last maybe 2 or 3 years, the big players in this haven't changed much. Apps are changing all the time. New ones are coming out, but the most popular, the ones that are causing the most issues, haven't really changed much. But keep in mind that new ones are always coming out. And as they come out, make sure you know what's going on. Make sure you know how they tie into this stuff, because they all do the same thing, just different names and maybe different dangers. Snapchat, we're all familiar with, I'm sure. If you're not familiar with it, it is a chat app that allows you to take pictures on the fly. Once you take those pictures, they're sent. There is a time limit on them. They call it a time bomb. Supposedly, once those pictures are viewed and the time runs out, they go away. Not necessarily true. They can be, a screenshot can be taken. It normally does notify the person that posted the picture that a screenshot was taken. But again, there's an app out there that'll mask that as well. So never assume that you're safe with that. So I'm going to go through these a little quicker because I do have a few slides on here. I don't want to get through all of it, and there are time constraints. So this one here is Askfm. This one's been around for quite a while. Another one of those anonymous type websites, as well as an app. On this site, you can ask anonymous questions. You can ask to be rated. You can post any question you want and ask people to respond to it. Again, complete anonymity, and they can say whatever they want. You'll never know who it is. This is a very, very big problem with bullying, as well as some of the other issues that happen on social media. Tinder. This is probably the biggest and most well-known dating app, although it's really, as you can see up there, it's known as the hookup app. It's really widely used by people that just want to go on and find people for whatever reason, hookups. Unfortunately, there are a lot of teenagers on there. So there is a way to, so you're supposed to use Facebook or any, something to authenticate, because you're not supposed to be on here unless you're of age, but you can just create a fake Facebook account, and get on and there it is. So this app is a big problem. I know it is going around a lot of the teenage communities, the schools and all that, and you'll hear about it a lot. So mainly what I'm trying to do is I want parents to know what apps are out there. So if you see them on the phones, you hear the kids talking about them, you know what they do, you know what they're capable of, and you know at least about some of the dangers, and you can do a little more research yourself. Again, like I said, it's similar to like Match.com or something like that, but a lot more dangerous. This one here, Omegle, has also been around for quite a while. This is similar to the other anonymous site I had talked about, only this one has video in it as well. It's a website as well as an app. It basically just randomly connects you to anybody that is on as well. So you just hit a button. You don't have to sign in. You don't have to do anything. You hit a button, and it starts searching, and it randomly connects you, and it says, say hello. A video will be there. Most of the videos, as you can see here in red, 1 in 8 spins yield somebody that is exposing themselves, which, as you can imagine, being anybody, nonetheless a parent of a minor, is a big problem. So if you see something like this, if you even hear about this, no question, just block it. Don't even allow it. There's nothing good about this site or this app, so there's no reason to have it. This is one that has also been around for a while, but it's a newer one that I added to this because it's growing in popularity. So a lot of these are actually kids and people are filtering off of some of them to go to new ones. This one actually, believe it or not, is a company that trades on the New York Stock Exchange. So this company probably will not be going away anytime soon. They have a lot of money to invest in keeping their advertising and people coming. MeetMe is an app similar to some of the others like Facebook, or it operates like anything else that has a wall. You create a profile. There's nothing to authenticate that profile, just like some of the other ones, so it could be anybody. And there are some things that are pretty bad about it that you can't really turn off as far as the filter features. One of them is the games. There are a lot of games on that one that just do matchups. It does use GPS, so if it says, okay, well, we're going to match you with people in your area, well, naturally, if you have your picture on there, those people are going to be in your area, and it's not going to take much, especially here in Mashpee. We live in a very small community. If it says you live in Mashpee, it's not going to be very difficult to find you or find out who you are and get information about you. So you can see here that it does have a news feed. Profile pictures obviously can be spoofed, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But that's it on MeetMe for now. Oh, here's some of the things I was talking about, some of the dangers. So right here, it does have also a question and answer feature on it that, as you can see, part of this is right off of their website, believe it or not. They actually admit that it's not monitored, and there is a lot of sexual content on there. So definitely something that you want to keep an eye on. Whisper is another one that it's starting to taper off, but it's still out there. There are a lot of kids on this one. This is probably the biggest anonymous app that kids use, and some adults, obviously. I don't want to just single kids out, but they use to basically voice themselves. They go on there a lot to talk about maybe troubles that they're having in life, maybe things that are going on at home, or maybe with their peers and things like that. The other problem with that is it invites bullying. It invites people into their lives. It invites people to try to, to coax them into whatever they need to, because they see the vulnerabilities, because they're putting out their vulnerabilities for everybody to see. This one will probably never come off my slideshow because it still remains, and I don't see it going away, as the #1 chat app used to manipulate and coax anybody, especially young children. And the biggest problem with it, and the reason why it's so widely used, is because it is not trackable by law enforcement. So, with normal apps, you send a picture, you send a text. There is a server somewhere that stores this information. When that information goes onto the server, it doesn't just disappear as what was stated. If you send a picture out there, you send a message, even if you delete it, the other person deletes it, it's on a server somewhere. So that can be, summons can be sent out to that agency, and they can do a backup, and they can recover that, and they can send it out. With Kik, it's actually, the company is based in Canada, and they don't like to comply with a lot of our laws as it is, and also they do not have servers that store this information. So when the messages get sent, they make a couple hops and go right to the other person's device. So once it's deleted on both ends, it's gone forever. And that's information that's available on their website. So as you can see, that's a huge problem when it comes to people trying to do things that they shouldn't be doing on the internet. And a lot of times you'll see other apps, they'll actually post on there what their Kik name is, because they don't want to communicate on said app, because they're aware of the fact that that can be tracked much easier. So they try to get them over to Kik. If you ever see this app on your child's phone or anybody's phone, especially a child, get rid of it. Block it. Do whatever you got to do. If you see it on somebody else's phone, maybe they don't understand the dangers. But again, a lot of these apps did have a purpose. So the creators of Kik didn't come out with this app saying that they wanted it to be used by child predators. So there are uses for it. Unfortunately, a lot of them get taken over and used for the wrong purpose, and it gets to the level where it just needs to go away. I do have a few examples here of when I first created this slideshow of people that have used Kik and actually been charged with certain things that have happened, specifically using that app, and it's appalling. This was just what I say in 10 days, and just in 10 days of a search, all of these people had done these heinous acts, and luckily have been caught. But again, if these are the people that will get caught, how many people have not been? Again, this was a simple Google search, and I believe all I typed in there was cell phone apps and legal charges, I believe was the thing. And this was the first 2 pages that came up. I mean, it's astonishing how many people and how much stuff is going on out there. And again, these are the people that were caught. So if these are the people that were getting caught, I'm no law enforcement official, but I would say there's probably thousands for every one out there that have not been caught. So I threw another slide in here that kind of just goes over, because I can't obviously talk about all the thousands of apps that are out there. These are just some of the other ones that are related to, that are out there that are a little less prominent, but also very dangerous apps that need to be looked at. And again, we're specifically talking about kids, when we're talking about a lot of the dangers to these. Some of the malicious stuff will spill over into adults, but we mainly want to focus on the kids when we're talking about some of these things. And here's just some facts. I'm not going to read through them, all of them through the time constraints. Okay, and there's another thing that I do want to talk about. So it was touched on by the woman before me that about pictures, that you never know who that person is on the other end. That's called catfishing. I don't know if anybody's seen that show on MTV, Catfish, but the gist of it is it's basically taking somebody else's photo or taking their information or any information that is not you and posing as that person online. There's obviously a lot of problems with that because it's not you, and on the other end there's legal issues. The other end, the person does not know that it's not you, usually until it's too late. And when that happens, it could either be an adult talking to a child, it could be children talking to each other and maybe a bullying situation. I mean, there's so many different things that can happen with that, and it happens all the time. There's another search that I did because I love doing Google searches. I just found this, what I did is I took a picture that I knew was a catfish. It's not hard to find them a lot of times on Facebook. And you can do a reverse search on Google, reverse image search. If you just upload the picture, you hit reverse image search, it will return everything on the internet that is actually using that picture. So as you can see, I found this particular picture, and you can see all the different profiles that it came up with using this exact same picture. A lot of times they'll use this not only to do malicious stuff to other people, as far as, like I said, coax other children or peers, but they also use it to try to get information, social networking, from whether it's military members or people that have sensitive information. They'll try to create profiles, usually of beautiful young women, knowing that people are probably more likely to accept them as a friend, and then eventually they try to get information from you. So this is a huge problem as well. Don't know why I have a blank slide in there. Oh, there it is. So the biggest issue, aside from dealing with outside people coming into your home for, whether it's trying to do human trafficking or child predators, is actually with the children reaching out, looking for somebody, looking for that connection, maybe that connection they're not getting at home. And this is one of the other big reasons why parents really need to be aware of what's going on. We've gotten into a busy lifestyle, and I understand, a lot of dual working families, a lot of things going on, technology is growing fast, it's hard to keep track of it, but this is very important. So when you look at some of these, and these are actual whispers, I talked about that app a little while ago about how kids are putting themselves out there and talking about stuff. These are actual whispers by, I would assume they're young kids or young adults. I don't know, again, it's anonymous. But, when you see this kind of stuff out there, it kind of scares you, and it makes you worried, and it makes you feel for these kids because, when we were growing up, at least when I was growing up, you didn't have anybody to talk to but your parents or your friends that you really couldn't, just reach out across the world through the digital world and talk to whoever you wanted or put yourself out there. If you needed to talk to somebody, there was somebody right there to talk to, and unfortunately, if there wasn't, you could find other outlets. Nowadays, a lot of kids won't even come to you. They know that they can, push of a button, they can talk to somebody who's they think is not going to judge them, somebody that they don't have to look in the face, and somebody that's not going to get them in trouble. But when that happens, you're obviously inviting, strangers into your environment, and even though they may seem to care, which is the biggest thing that they try to do, is they want to, create that sense of care and trust, and then work whatever they need to work into it. And kids being kids, they're vulnerable, they may not understand, or they may not even know what's going on, and next thing you know, they're in a situation they don't want to be in, and you don't want your children in. So that's why I put this in here. So it's, as a parent, speaking to other parents, I'm sure I don't need to tell you this, but communication is a big part of being a parent. And like was said before, you do pay the bill. And, a lot of times I get people that tell me, well, don't you feel it's an invasion of privacy? Don't you feel like you're crossing the line? And no, absolutely not. I just went through all these slides and showed you all the things out there that people are using to try to gain access to your home and to your kids and try to cause problems. And if you're not going to take that proactive, attempt to either talk to them and get involved and monitor, well, then you're really not doing yourself or your family any justice. And, one of the things that I would suggest, and one of the rules that I live by, is if you cannot have this conversation, if you can't talk about some of the stuff in even more greater detail than I did tonight with your child, then they do not need to have any of these apps. They do not need to have a phone, because they will see this stuff. If they download any of this stuff, I will guarantee you with 100% certainty that they will come in contact with some bad stuff. They will see it. So if you cannot have that open conversation about what kind of pictures they're going to see, what kind of messages they're going to get, and what kind of people are going to try to manipulate them, then they don't belong using any of this stuff. And that's just the facts in it. This one I added in, I believe it was last year or so. I had gotten some communication on it. I haven't heard much about it since then. It kind of just fizzled away a little, but I'm sure it's still being used. I'm sure you can read it for yourself, but basically it was an app that was used, it would tie schools together, which obviously can be dangerous when you're actually telling each other where you go to school. It was designed to allow kids to, in the same school system, same district or whatever, to kind of talk to each other without knowing they're talking to each other, and kind of get things off their chest, again, like I told you about Whisper, but on a different level. And they also supposedly had licensed therapists that were monitoring this app, where the kid can hit a button and talk to a licensed therapist. Again, this goes back to the whole talk to your kids. If they're not willing to talk to you up front, check up on them every once in a while. Don't wait for them to come to you, because the chances are they're already talking to somebody else online. So I won't get too much into it. Look into it yourself. I haven't heard too much about it as of lately. The security aspects of it, when I looked into it, weren't terrible, but again, anything that's getting your kids to talk to somebody else rather than you is not good. So getting into the last piece of this is the monitoring and blocking of some of this stuff on the phones. The one on the left here, my right, is called OpenDNS. This is actually free. It's run from Netgear, which is a company that makes networking equipment. This allows you to put the software on your home network, and as you see all these check boxes here, you can check off all those different things that you want to block on your network, and any device that connects to your network will automatically be blocked to anything that is flagged as those categories. You can create accounts too, so that way you can have your home station that's not blocked. But you can also plug in, going through some of the customization settings, you can plug in individual internet web URLs and things like that. The problem with this is, as we all know, cell phones have cell data that you can just turn off the Wi-Fi and jump on the cell data, so you can bypass all the home networking stuff. So this would be great for a home PC or a laptop, or maybe even a tablet that does not have Wi-Fi, but probably would not work very well, especially for the smart teenagers out there now. They're going to bypass this very quickly. Which brings me to Phone Sheriff, which is one of the ones that were mentioned previously. This is the one that I like the most. Net Nanny is also a very, very good one. As you can see, this is all of the things that it really protects against, and I mean, it's pretty extensive. It's most of the stuff that you'd want to do. Not only that, but you can set it up to have alerts. You can have it take screenshots. So if there's certain keywords that are brought up, if there's certain things that happen on the phone, and you actually want a screenshot, it'll take a screenshot. It'll send it to you through text and email. It'll also proactively block phone numbers if there are certain flags that happen. So if there's a certain word or like I said, that comes up and you want it to just block the phone number immediately, it'll do it. And again, it'll monitor everything. You can have it stored, and it's as robust as you want it to be, but you don't have to go that full with it. So if you have, what I typically do is, as my kids get older, I try to, give them a little more and let them, try to police themselves and see how that goes while I continue to monitor. And then if we have to dial it back, we will, and I've done it. So I would highly recommend looking into something like this, or like I said, Net Nanny. Again, a little plug. I'm not sure when this is going to air, but on Wednesday we're actually doing a hands-on at the Mashpee High School that deals with all the cell phones and tablets and that kind of stuff on how to implement this kind of thing. So at this point.